Okay. Baker and Molassis at the Movies.
On the moon, there's a bakery.
There is, with Half Moon cookies.
It's really
Right?
nice.
Nice.
Nicely done.
Yes.
Wow, that was fast.
Speaking of round things, we're at Umbrellas. Umbrellas
We are.
round.
This
right?
is
Yeah.
a great little spot next to the Opera House.
Yeah,
and-
1926 First Street.
yeah, it's fabulous. And-
Hopefully, future sponsor, if we can.
Yes.
They'll love us.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
The less they know us, the love us.
Right. So let's talk about the moon, because that's what I promised.
Well, I love your advertisement in promoting this, which is a great idea, and you use one of the iconic lines that I don't even know if you could say that today. Jackie Gleason would have to be banned as being a misogynist and a wife beater for saying the line, "One of these days, Alice, pow,
Yeah.
go to the moon."
Right.
And I think it sheds the light on. It does it in a kind of a whimsical way, but he has such love for her
Right.
that people feel like you feel like choking your husband or your wife
Exactly.
sometime, or your kid,
It's
or your
reality.
dog, or whatever.
It's reality.
Oh, one of these days, Alice, to them, and
Right.
now you can't say anything.
Yes.
So God forbid they ever ban that or try to don't put a warning label on
Oh,
that.
I'm sure. In fact, I saw a movie over the week, Under the Silver Lake, Andrew Garfield. I watched it on TV because it didn't,
Good
come out,
actor.
it didn't come out here.
Good actor.
Yeah, and he was actually great in this. And talk about what a cool segue from Psycho to this Under the Silver Lake, because at first you think he's creepy, and the reason I bring it up was all the critics jumped on it and said it was toxic masculinity, his character.
Oh.
Okay? First of all, I watched it. No, he actually loved this woman and was trying to find her to save her.
Okay.
How is that toxic masculinity?
I don't know. I have to see it, and I'll figure. But
So I defended it
people get.
in my blog. But
Yeah, they're just.
too sensitive. But it was realistic, him looking at women. That's normal behavior. I mean, as long as you're not touching people
Well,
inappropriately.
I can't look.
I know.
Can I think?
I mean, isn't that why women dress up, to be looked at?
Yeah,
Really?
but
Let's be honest.
if I looked at that woman and I thought a thought like a Jimmy Carter thought, like when he read Playboy magazine, and I said I lust for I started to do Clinton, but he
I was gonna say, don't.
no I was doing no, that's another thing. Anyway, we're
Those
talking
southern
about
accents can be
we're,
confusing.
I went I combined. But anyway, the moon. Speaking of the
Oh,
moon,
yeah, let's go back to the moon, where we're safe.
so where were you when that happened? You around?
I was
A baby?
the same age as you, but I didn't have parents who cared about it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get how monumental it was. We
Okay.
weren't sitting around watching it or
Okay,
anything.
so that's honest.
So it's a blip. It's a blip in the sky. But I mean, I appreciate it now. It's huge. And all the movies I've seen actually have made me appreciate
So
it.
what's the movie that I think they've overlooked is the most recent one. I know that Apollo 11 is coming out this year. It's at the IMAX
Right.
2019. It's out now in celebration of it.
Right.
But I think they really overlooked First Man, which
Me
is Damien
too.
Chazelle's movie.
Oh, I think
Did
that
you
movie,
like that
yes,
film?
I loved it. In fact, that's on my top 5 because I think it showed what trial and error they had to go through and just how hard it was to get there.
Yeah. It's a big picture and a small picture. I think I said that in my
It was
review.
beautifully done, I thought.
And the wife's
Yeah,
predicament, and you see the tragedy on the launch pad.
exactly.
And it's I thought the lead, who's what's his name?
Oh, Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling was fabulous.
Great actor.
as Neil Armstrong, which is
Yeah.
didn't get the love, and I think it's a great film director too.
Yeah, and Claire Foy was just as good as the wife too. She was super.
Yes, she's great.
I thought that movie really showed both sides of everything, like the family situation, how they have to sacrifice while the dad's out doing his job, and how obsessed he was to get there, which was great. You have to have that, otherwise you're not going,
Yeah, and it was tremendously overlooked.
I really feel bad about it getting overlooked.
Yeah.
Really.
I defended it in the film class. I
Yeah.
think you were in that class. And
Yeah.
people talked, one of the objections was, they left all this stuff on the moon, right? And it's like, oh my God, there's like always somebody.
Right.
Well, the trash pickup is a little late. I mean, they're behind a truck.
All right.
So I like that a lot. What was something else that you would it's on your list?
My picks are sort of obscure. Like I like Moon. Duncan Jones, who's David Bowie's
son, yeah.
Sam Rockwell. It was science fiction, but just great acting by Sam Rockwell and a really good story.
Yeah, I saw that years ago. I like that. It didn't. So what did that speak to you? Just you like the point of view that they took? And
yeah, it was just a wild ride of you didn't know what was going to happen next, and I just really appreciated the story of this guy isolated, and you didn't know whether he was seeing things or if this was really happening because if you spend so much time alone,
yes,
you could start hallucinating.
It's kind of like Castaway.
Yes, exactly.
Well, the film that and again, Ron Howard, I'm a big defender of Ronnie Howard. He just did a great version of Pavarotti. He did the Beatles documentary.
Yeah.
And his handling of Apollo 13 with Hanks and that crew of actors, Kevin Bacon, Sinise, but just really, I think, an effective film of what these guys, the Houston, we got a problem thing.
Yeah.
And I think it really worked. And Hanks is just, Hanks is just perfect for that.
Yeah, he's amazing.
And Bacon's great. And trying to think Bill Paxton's in that. So a lot of these guys are kind of like, not second tier. And we lost him recently a few years ago.
Right.
Got to interview him at a film festival. He was really one of the sweetest guys.
Aw, that's nice.
Really a nice man. But they'll just they look like astronauts.
Yes.
They felt like they were so perfectly cast.
Right.
So that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, what about The Right Stuff, too?
I love The Right Stuff. I think that's iconic, obviously.
Yeah.
And Ed Harris and that
Dennis
whole
Quaid.
crew is I just think that's the film that probably means the most to me because I had a little interaction with. That's probably the smallest club there is. When you think about presidents, there's been 45.
Oh, right.
Supreme Court judge, there's
Right.
9 now, but there's been 100. I don't know how many. Hall of Fame, any of the Hall of Fames, rock and roll, sports.
Right.
But the club of being on the moon is probably the smallest little. I don't want to call it an elite club because it's kind of like this spiritual it's the lunar club.
Yeah, but how many people live?
13.
Oh, wow.
So number 6 is Edgar Mitchell, and he was on Apollo 14. And was in a documentary called From Here to the Moon. In the Shadow of the Moon, 2007.
Okay.
Sarasota Film Festival. This was in the film festival, had some of the most elegant parties that would compete with LA and Cannes. They did it in the courtyard of the John Ringling with David sitting there. And they had all the shrimp boats and it was like John Belushi throwing shrimp, remember, in Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
And Edgar Mitchell was there, one of the 13 on the moon, and Elias Koteas, a Greek boy, was there. Great actor. He's been in a lot of things. Matter of fact, we're talking about women. He was looking at this woman. He wanted to make some time with this woman. He was like, "Oh my God!" So I introduced him. I brought him over there. I was like, I was just being a
matchmaker.
I was being a Greek matchmaking. But anyway, we're talking about the film that opened the festival that night. The beautiful memory, though, one of those little nights.
Yeah.
And From Here to the Moon, in the Shadow of the Moon, and Edgar Mitchell. So I brought him over and I started talking to him. And I had a couple drinks. I would have a couple drinks after most of my interviews, but I had a couple drinks, not feeling any pain. I called him Mr. Mitchell. I said, he ended up being a doctor. And Dr. Mitchell, I actually called him because I think he had his PhD, and I said, "Would you do me a favor?" He goes, "What, son?" I said, "Would you sing Fly Me to the Moon with me?" So I have this moment on film of one of the guys, one of the 13, singing, and it's a great film. And it opened the film festival that year.
Okay.
And it was really just a cool documentary. I think that, that science, that love of exploration that we saw as kids, they bring in the cart in the AV. Remember an AV?
Yes.
They bring in that.
I used to love the cart.
That's an archaic thing now. Oh my God.
It's fun though.
I was the AV guy, by the way.
Hearing the film.
They think
snap, snap, snap. I love it.
So that was a big memory
That is
for
a
me.
great memory.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's cool. Edgar Mitchell, he died about 3 years ago in Florida. He lived in Florida.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a small club.
It is.
And we have Buzz Aldrin. He's celebrating this thing now.
Yeah. How fun for him, to have that. I mean,
There's some footage of Bud Buzz, excuse me, not Bud, Buzz Aldrin, confronting somebody, a flat earther and a denier of the moon landing. If you Google it or YouTube it, you'll get a kick.
I'm going to, actually.
Yeah, you have to, because he punches this guy right in the face. He hits him, and he's like 90. And this guy's going, come on, he goes, swear on the Bible you didn't land on the moon. And Buzz just wasn't going to have any of it.
Oh my gosh. Well, good for him.
Well, yeah, he said, one giant punch for mankind,
Conspiracy theorists.
Yeah,
Drive me crazy.
Yeah, have you ever dealt with that? Has anyone ever?
Actually, I was jogging this morning, no lie, listening to the radio, and they brought it up. The
No
fact
kidding.
that, how come we haven't been back if it was real? It was like, please.
They thought it was all done in a like a soundstage.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, that's a big reach.
I mean, Nixon even had a speech prepared if it failed. He was all ready, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it wasn't.
That's why it's because they don't like Nixon.
Right. Yeah, right. Anything,
we never went to the moon.
anything under Nixon couldn't be good, right? We know how that goes.
Yeah.
I have one other goofy film called Melancholia, which isn't set on the moon, but it has a lot to do with the moon. Have you ever seen it?
No.
It's Lars von Trier, who's really far out.
Okay.
If you know him.
Okay, you got some funky taste. That's good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He did he did two back-to-back movies, Nymphomaniac and Nymphomaniac 2. But he works with Kristen.
Yeah, because you can't get enough if you're a nymphomaniac.
And
you do
Uma
like
Thurman was in it, actually.
Oh my God.
I mean, but it was a weird movie. But anyway, back to Melancholia. Kristen Dunst, Kiefer Sutherland, and it's all about how the world's going to end because of shift in planets. And
Right.
I'm telling you, there is a gorgeous scene. You know how scenes stick in your head?
Sure.
They're just so artistically shot. Kirsten Dunst or Kristen
Yeah.
Dunst?
Yeah,
Lying
Kristen
naked
Dunst.
on rocks with the moon, and like
Oh, that's cool.
beautiful, and how, people go crazy with the moon, the shifts in the moon,
Sure.
the full moon, the whole
Right.
thing. And it was just beautifully done, though. Like, certain parts were like, wow, this guy's amazing director. He's gotten into hot water, though.
We have not mentioned, there's of course the iconic first film, 1902, A Trip to the Moon, where it lands and you see the graphic.
Right.
Which Georges Méliès, the French filmmaker, 1902.
Right.
And then, of course, there's Moonstruck, which is another play off of that.
Right.
Hidden Figures. Did you love Hidden Figures? Did you like it?
I didn't see it.
You didn't see
I'm
Hidden
so
Figures?
Sorry.
And there's controversy right now in the politically correct days we live in. It's like some people don't want to celebrate this moon landing because there's no women that landed on the moon.
Right.
Well, geez, you can't, don't you? I mean, there were no women in the Beatles either. Does that mean I hate the Beatles?
We've evolved, and everything comes in its own time. You can't go back and start rewriting history and shaming people.
But isn't that ridiculous? I mean, so Hidden Figures touches on these brilliant African American scientists.
That's great.
And then there's pushback on that film that it's too Hollywood or it's too sweet. And it's based on a true story.
Right.
So people, I don't think sometimes they want to hear the good.
Right.
I hate this. I dealt with that with Green Book. It was like, what do you want them to do at that point? You want them to not get along?
Right.
Or you want them to find some common ground?
Right.
So it's sad. The other film...
Anything that celebrates unity or celebrates people, like those women who helped, God bless them, right? I mean, it's great.
And I liked it. I didn't like it as much as... First Man.
Right.
I think First Man's a better film.
Right.
That's more of a movie. And then, of course, Moonstruck we mentioned, and I love the Andy Kaufman Man on the Moon.
Oh yeah, that's great.
That's the best thing he's ever done, Jim
Yes.
Carrey. And I know that's just a metaphor for Man on the Moon. It's a great song.
Yeah.
It's a great little REM song.
REM,
if not mistaken.
Yeah, Jim Carrey was amazing in that.
Yeah. So I wish I could see the Apollo 11 on a big, what are the IMAX theater things?
Right.
So those are cool, and not on a phone.
No.
Right?
Man, that would be one of the most absurd things.
Have you seen some of the recent coverage about and Paper Moon? I have Paper Moon down here. It was another little sweet little film, so Bogdanovich, gorgeous. Right?
Yes.
But the actual coverage of Walter Cronkite is really emotional watching this.
Yes.
And I just love that aspect of What I love the most about it is it's accomplishment.
Yeah.
It's